Welcome to Codex, a history of video games. My name is Tyler Osby.
And I'm Mike Coletta.
And this week, we're gonna get into the holiday spirit a little bit, spread some cheer, talk about some games that have holiday or wintry elements to them. Couple of like small things, some levels. We don't have a whole ton of stuff to talk about here, but we thought we'd give you, instead of just taking the week off, we thought we'd do a little bit of holiday gaming.
We try to get a little merry with it.
Yeah.
So the first game that I have in here is an expansion to Duke Nukem 3D, and that is called Duke Nuclear Winter. So here are the grime facts about this. First and foremost, it was developed by Simply Silly Software, which is not the developer of Duke Nukem 3D, like the main developer, but they're like, hey, give it a shot, do this episode. They're like, okay, cool. Came out on December 30th, 1997. It is on PC, specifically MS-DOS, or on CD-ROM. The number of copies sold is completely unknown because this is an expansion from 1997. The genre is first-person shooter. It has no awards, roasted, and the average time to complete is about 2 hours for just this expansion. I was amazed there was a How Long to Beat score for this, but How Long to Beat has some real obscure stuff.
They got everything on there.
Yeah, it's because I think people that play can just submit their time, so they can just make whatever. And so someone's putting in the work and beating all these games. Thank you, whoever that is. There is no critic score, like officially, but on Metacritic, the user score is 8.5 out of 10 based on 5 reviews. And there was a lot of negative press for this when it came out, but I think now that it's been over 20 years, like people are like, oh no, this was kind of fun. Like it was a fun little Christmas holiday expansion. Who cares?
I feel like that happens sometimes, like when a game comes out and it's not quite what people wanted at the time, and so they dump all over it and don't like it. But then like a long time later, you can look back and be like, well, for what it was fine,
Yeah, and I'll explain why at the time people were not super into it. But the plot of the game essentially is Santa Claus, the Santa Claus, has been captured and brainwashed by the same aliens that Duke defeated last time.
Oh, no.
And now, to make it even worse, there's a new enemy called the Feminist Elven Militia, because this is the 90s, that have teamed up. Yeah, it does not age well, this game.
Yikes.
And Duke has to travel to the North Pole to stop Santa Claus and the intruders and stop evil, okay? And gameplay, it's essentially like Doom. I mean, we haven't done a Duke Nukem proper episode. We're going to at some point, I'm sure, especially when we want to talk about the slow train crash that was Duke Nukem Forever.
Yeah.
But it's essentially Doom in this scenario. It's a first-person shooter, very similar graphics, like sprite-based. It's fun, though. It's a fun game. You should play it. And what did this new expansion introduce? First and foremost, snowmen are a big villain in the game. Because you got to fight snowmen. You have to. Okay? There's also elves, and that's like the Feminist Elven Militia. So it's like two different character models of elves, and they're wearing like black tank tops and like camo pants. It's super 90s. Like it's the most 90s you could possibly get. And then Santa Claus, Claws. You get it?
Oh, like
Santa Claus. That's
talons.
Like the big boss. Yeah, it's the big boss. So here's kind of why there was a gripe about this game is, so I'm going to list out the levels for you. In the first two levels, Deja Vu and Where It All Began, are remakes from the episode called LA Meltdown. They're remakes of the Red Light District level and the Hollywood Holocaust level. So that's where like people that bought this game in 1997 kind of thought they were phoning it in, even though the 5 other levels in the expansion are all brand new and they're kind of cool. And I'll get into that in the Easter egg section, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. So actually, we're going to talk about it right now. Like I said, these are kind of short. So the Nuclear Winter, like the small portion of like the Land of Forgotten Toys level, is actually almost like the same structurally like level of Doom, of the first Doom. You have to actually get an access card. Yeah, just like in Doom. And you'll see a Space Marine severed, mutilated corpse in the level at some point.
Just to kind of be like,
they were doing. A little nod to Doom. In the Land of Forgotten Toys level, you can also see Mario. He has his back turned to you, and he's playing Mario Kart on a TV. So this is like a funny bug, is how I'll describe this next Easter egg. I don't know if it really counts as an Easter egg as much as a funny bug. So what they did in Duke Nukem Nuclear Winter is they changed the enemy's pig cops, which is the name of the enemy, and they turned them into Santa Claus. It's just like a reskin. But if you play the normal episodes, no matter what you do, they will be replaced with Santa Claus. And because Santa Claus is programmed to have a win condition of if you kill one in any other episode, you automatically win the game and the level ends.
So like if you have this expansion installed, it like ruins the old Duke Nukem for you?
In short, yes.
Wow.
That's what it does. It was just one of those weird, like, overlooked bugs. I mean, it might be fixed now, but it's like kind of funny because the example they give you is at one point you'll fight 5 Santa Claus, who is supposed to be the big boss man of this one expansion, and you'll kill the first one, and then the game will just end because you did it. Congrats. It automatically ends the episode. I just thought that was really funny. So that is Duke Nukem Nuclear Winter. We will talk more about it, I'm sure, when we actually cover Duke Nukem. And like I said, we really got to cover Duke Nukem Forever. That could be in like a worst games of all time episode, though, for sure.
Yeah, it really could. And especially because of like the amount of time it took to make it versus what came out. Like there's a special formula there that just makes it feel really bad, but also kind of funny.
Feels real bad. But
yeah,
you got another game?
Yeah. So let's move on to the next game on our list, which is Christmas Nights into Dreams. I do have some grime facts about this one. The developer of Christmas Nights into Dreams was Sega. I believe it was Sonic Team. The release date was November of 1996 in Japan, December 1996 in the USA, on the Sega Saturn. Plus, there was a re-release on PlayStation 2 that had a bunch of content missing, so that's not the way to play this game. It takes you about half an hour to an hour to beat it because this was not a full game. It was just a promotional disc, like kind of a demo disc that whoever was in charge of this demo disc sort of just went like super ham and made a really cool thing. So I really like this one because on its surface, it looks just like it's just a sampler disc for Nights into Dreams, but there's a ton of bonus content on this disc that can't be found anywhere else, not even on the main Nights into Dreams game for Saturn. And it's also not just Christmas themed, despite its name. So if you're unfamiliar with Nights, it was one of the larger titles on the Sega Saturn. We probably covered it when we talked about Sega Saturn games, but the gameplay here is that it's like a fun side-scroller where you sort of fly around as the titular knights of inside the dreams of the main characters, Claris and Elliot. You gather gems, you go for the high score, and I think it's generally considered to be one of the better games on the Saturn. I didn't play it back in the day. I've played it now, but it's kind of hard to judge how it was in context, you know, like it's fun to play now, but I don't know if somebody who got this on Christmas morning, if they were very upset with it or not. But it was developed by Sonic Team, so that's what Sega Saturn players got instead of a real Sonic game on their doomed console. So that's kind of a bummer. I'm pretty sure it was Sonic Team. I may need to look that up real quick. Actually, hold on.
I'm okay with it. I again am so unfamiliar with the Sega Saturn that this is very interesting to me.
Yeah, it was Sonic
I don't
Team.
know anything about it. So, and I've never actually played Nights. So,
it's on Steam now.
Oh, it is? Oh,
yeah.
Well, then that's where to pick it up. Also, I should say like Duke Nukem 3D is also, I believe, on Steam, and you can just pick it up there if you really want to play this game. The other game that I'm going to talk about tonight is Freeware. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Did you look it up?
So yeah, it was Sonic Team. So anyway, Christmas Nights was just a demo for the game with the first level available for players to sample. But depending on what day the clock is set to on the Sega Saturn, because Sega Saturn had a clock built in, there were a whole bunch of neat things that could happen. So if you played the game from November to December, the game is Winter Nights, where it's basically just a winter-themed version of the first level from the main game. If you play on Christmas, everybody wears Santa-themed outfits, and the music changes to be Jingle Bells. There's a whole new Christmas-themed story and a new boss fight, too, if you play on Christmas.
A whole new boss fight?
Yeah, it's a whole bunch of new stuff. The game completely changes on Christmas. And if you play on New Year's Day, it changes to be New Year's themed, which is also pretty cool. Not a whole lot else changes on New Year's Day. It's just a new title screen and a song, but I still think it's cool. It does some fun stuff on Valentine's Day and April Fool's Day. Like it gets like heart themed on Valentine's Day. And on April Fool's Day, you get to play as the bad guy. So that's fun.
That's cool. And this is just a demo?
Yeah.
That is so much work to put into a demo. I'm very impressed.
So there's there's so much extra content on this. It's like that you can play as Sonic too, which was where his first true 3D appearance was before. I guess the first Sonic game with him as 3D would have been like Sonic Adventure, or maybe if you count that other Sonic thing on Saturn that was a compilation. I can't remember what it was called now, but there's like a 3D Sonic thing that's not really a game. But I don't know. I really like this one. If you play outside of the winter months or April Fool's Day or Valentine's Day, it's just the first level of Nights. It's just like a regular old Nights thing. But I just like this one because you can tell that whoever was put in charge of putting this disc together was like, they just had so much fun. It was probably somebody who had never been put in charge of a thing before, and they were like, well, we'll put you in charge of the demo disc. Like, how much damage could you do, right? And this person was like, I'm going to prove it, that I'm the best. And they made an awesome thing. I'm assuming that's what happened. I don't actually know who was in charge of it or how much experience they had. But yeah, it just seems
that's
like,
the one bummer about these is you couldn't really find a lot of development facts on these.
Yeah, yeah.
They're so obscure. I mean, I really thought going into this, there would be way more holiday-themed Christmas games.
There really aren't.
And there aren't. Like, that's a whole world there to explore, everybody. Future game developers listening to this.
Yeah. So, yeah, and because it was a sampler, I'm assuming this was free for Saturn players. I think it came bundled in some magazines. Maybe it was at, like, checkout stands and stuff. However you get your demo discs, not from Pizza Hut, because they were doing the Sony thing with PlayStation.
Pete, we could do a whole episode on fast food demo discs.
Big fan. Yeah.
Or chain restaurant demo discs, I guess would be better phrasing.
Yeah. So that's all I got for Christmas Nights. But you were saying there aren't very many games that are set during Christmas or holidays. One game is, and it's not the main point of the game, but it is set during this time, and that is Batman Arkham Origins.
Ooh, this kind of feels like is Die Hard a Christmas movie argument for Batman Arkham Origins, and I 100% am with you and accept. I'm down for this to be a Christmas game.
Yeah, it's exactly that. And speaking of that argument, I've sort of backed away from saying Die Hard is a Christmas movie because I think you could do that story without Christmas. I think that's what it needs to be. Something needs to be a Christmas movie. You have to be like, well, does this story exist without Christmas?
They need to do a recut for people that think it's a Christmas movie where Santa just shows up with like an AK-47 and kills some terrorists, and then it'll be a Christmas movie.
Yeah. That said, if you really like watching Die Hard at Christmas time, that's fine. There's no problem with that.
Oh yeah,
it's a great movie.
Watch whatever movie you want
right.
in the holidays.
It's a great movie to watch whenever you want. Yeah. But anyway, I don't think we've done a series on Batman games, but we probably should because we did Spider-Man. And even though there are some very good Spider-Man games, I think Batman has overall more good games to his name. At least the 4 games in the Arkham series are pretty great. You've got Arkham Asylum, which kind of reinvented superhero video games. You got Arkham City's open world, which was kind of, I don't want to say revolutionary, but it was like very cool on its own. And then Arkham Knight was a good ending to the series, I think, and all of those games are great. But the one game that sometimes gets left out of the conversation is Arkham Origins, which was largely derided as a worse version of Arkham City and was made by WB's in-house studio instead of the main developer, Rocksteady. Well, I really like this game, and I thought its story was more fun than Arkham City, even if it was a little bit predictable.
If I recall, Arkham City got a little repetitive for me.
Yeah. I think Arkham Origins is a little bit more streamlined, too, because there was a little bit less content in it, and I was okay with that.
Yeah, I also think the one that really, I mean, he's got to go back to the original Arkham Asylum. Like the whole tone of that game is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
As far as being a nerd comic book fan goes.
Yeah, Arkham Asylum is fantastic. Yeah. But what makes Arkham Origins relevant to our conversation today is that it takes place during the holidays. The whole thing takes place on Christmas Eve, actually, to be exact. So it makes Gotham City all covered in snow and adds a little bit of extra urgency to the story because, tomorrow is Christmas. And so I don't think Batman is he's not like saving Santa Claus or anything like that. But
that'd be a way better video game.
Yeah, you're probably right. But it is cool that it's sort of set in that time period. It reminds me of the holiday themed comic book, The Long Halloween. Have you read The Long Halloween?
Oh yeah, it's on my shelf right here. It's great, fantastic.
Gosh.
I should reread it. Actually, it's been so long.
It's so good. Yeah, and that one it takes place over. That comic is probably one of my favorite Batman comics, and takes place over a whole year of tons of different holidays happening because the bad guy is Calendar Man, which sounds really dumb, but is pretty fun because he takes a whole year to solve a case. Anyway, read Long Halloween. But this isn't Codex, A History of Comics, so we'll talk a little bit more about Arkham Origins. I think there's a bunch of great...
It could be, though.
It could be. We could do some comic episodes, like side quests.
Yeah, then we're opening up a whole new world of side episodes for this podcast.
Ooh, Yeah. I love Arkham Origins because it has like some good enemies. You got Black Mask, you got Two-Face, plus you got all those Riddler trophies everywhere once again. And we don't need to go too deep into this because we'll probably do a more in-depth Batman series at some point. But I think this one's worth checking out if you skipped it because you heard it wasn't great. It actually is pretty good. And even though it's not Mark Hamill doing the voice of the Joker, Troy Baker does a really good job of doing Mark Hamill's Joker. Like, he sounds just like him. It's crazy how close it sounds.
That's great.
Yeah.
I never played Origins. It's the one Arkham game I never played. I should play
it's
it.
so good. You should. And it goes on sale all the time. It actually was free on the Epic Game Store for a little while, so maybe if you picked it up there, you might have it. I think might be on Game Pass too.
I don't know if I did. Yeah, it was probably really cheap. But all right, you ready for the next one?
Yeah.
And Tyler, I thought of you because this game is called Mary Gear Solid Secret Santa.
Wow, I've never heard of this game. Tell me more.
I hadn't heard of it either. So it's by Insignificant Studios, which is really one guy named Arthur Lee. It was released on December 24th, 2006. It is on Windows and it is free.
Woo.
So it's hard to tell the amount of downloads it got. The genre though is top-down stealth, and I didn't see it win any awards. And it only takes 24 to 41 minutes to beat, and there's no critic score, but this is a fan-made game, and it got pretty popular. Popular enough to be like listed in articles and stuff.
Nice.
It's being pretty fun. So gameplay-wise, Mary Gear Solid is a mixture of the original 2D Metal Gear games, but with like Metal Gear Solid like gameplay elements thrown into them. Like the little like radio that pops up on the side.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. It's a grid-based system, but it's super stylized. And instead of guards, you play as Solid Santa, and you have to outwit children that are on the naughty list. There's no guards, there's just children on the naughty list coming for you. But you have some sweet weapons, okay? And the first one is Christmas Spirit, which is just holiday-based telekinesis. You have a digital camera set up on a tripod. You have a gift box, and it actually like... It's like what you, I think, like hide in, you know, just like any other, the box is in a standard Metal Gear Solid game. You also have a Nerf gun, which is a tranquilizer gun. And you have a Seize candy cane, which lets you look at infrared beams so you can sneak by them.
Ah.
Isn't that cool? So there's a long, actually, like the plot of this game for being freeware and fun is pretty crazy. It goes actually into the Metal Gear Solid universe. Like this person made this fan game and cut it into the Metal Gear Solid universe and found a way to make it fit. In short, I'm going to read the first paragraph of the description I found on this, like, I think it was like Moby Games where like a download link was, you could find the game. But this is it. I'll just read it in my best, like, announcer voice. Mary Gear Solid Secret Santa follows the story of Solid Santa, a hardened holiday veteran who must infiltrate several houses to deliver children their Christmas presents on Christmas Eve. Military security is at its highest due to recent terrorist activities, so delivering presents the conventional way is out of the question. I assume, by the way, the conventional way is a reindeer and sleigh.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So Solid Santa must deliver them on foot, covertly entering the house, the front door, and going undiscovered. The only catch is there are some naughty, naughty children who are awake and expecting him. Not only this, but there are adults who are also awake and prowling the house. Luckily, the adults don't believe in Santa, so they cannot see him unless he makes physical contact with them. So you really just got to worry about the kids. Solid Santa must use stealth along with other tricks to avoid being spotted by the children and fulfill his mission. Dun, 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 dun. It's pretty great, right?
That sounds like really fun.
Also, your commanding officer that pops up on your codec is Major Tiny Tim, and the frequency is 1225. So there's that. Yeah, this game is free. I think you could totally like just find a download link and play it. Obviously, be careful because I didn't actually download it. I don't know a safe link. Maybe I'll find one and put it in the Discord. But this game seems absolutely ridiculous, and it actually makes me think that we should try to do a whole episode on fan-made games.
Oh, that could be fun.
Yeah, so I'm going to throw that on the list. But that was my last game. What do you got, Tyler?
Well, the last thing I want to talk about, we'll call it an honorable mention, is not an entire game to itself, but I do love the level Freezeezy Peak from Banjo-Kazooie.
So, that's great.
Yeah. So I think I said this on the podcast before. Banjo-Kazooie is one of my favorite games of all time. Easily cracks the top 5. And while every level in the game has its own theme, from like a tropical beach to a spooky haunted mansion to a giant tree where you get to play it through different seasons, which is very cool, one level is relevant to our conversation, and you can't even say it without feeling like you've been outside playing in the cold snow. Freezy Peak.
Frizizi. I like
Freezy
it.
Peak. It's a winter-themed level where everything is covered in snow. There's like igloos and Arctic-themed animals like polar bears and walruses, and there's evil snowmen throwing snowballs at you that you have to fight. And right smack dab in the middle of the level is a giant snowman. Like, it's huge. It's that's like basically the whole level. The whole goal, and there's a whole goal of getting to the top of it to get one of the jiggies. And it takes a while to get up there. Like, it's a whole obstacle course. There's a bunch of other winter-themed goals, like a sled race and finding presents for Boggy the Bear's children. There's a whole mini-game around helping Christmas lights make it from their box to the Christmas tree in the level. They, like, hop and walk along this, like, wooden plank, and you have to stop the bad guys from eating them. And it's very sad when they get eaten because they, like, scream, and it's, like, kind of disturbing.
Intense.
Yeah. But this level is also home to one of gaming's most fun mysteries, the stop and swap mystery of Banjo-Kazooie. In Waza the Walrus's Cave, there's a translucent key hidden behind some glass. It's just like there, you see it and it's spinning. You can see it, but you can't get to it. And for years, players tried to figure out what the heck this key was for, because it didn't seem to serve any purpose. Eventually, Rare revealed that there was a plan for this key and a few other items in Banjo-Kazooie to be carried forward from Banjo-Kazooie to the sequel, Banjo-Tooie. But for a few technical reasons, those plans never materialized. I think in the original revisions of the Nintendo 64 hardware, you could pull the cartridge out and it would retain the memory of it for like 10 seconds. So the idea was that you would like pull your Banjo-Kazooie cartridge out, put your Banjo-Tooie cartridge in, and like get to continue on or like move those items in or whatever. But because Nintendo made some revisions to the hardware, it didn't work that way anymore, and so they couldn't do it anymore, which was kind of a bummer. In the Xbox Live re-release of Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie, you can collect the key as well as the other items, and you can move them into Banjo-Tooie and kind of do the stop and swap thing as it was intended, which is pretty neat, I think.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Someday I'd like to do an episode on gaming's greatest mysteries. I feel like the 90s were such a good time for these kinds of mysteries because like the internet was sort of a thing, but like not really enough to really like now you couldn't have a mystery in a game like that, where it's just like this thing exists and we don't know what it's for, and it's like very mysterious. But in the 90s, it would have been like, oh, remember like all the different ways you supposedly could get Mew in Pokemon, and like you didn't really have a way to verify it. Yeah, I just think that would be a really fun episode to do on like gaming's greatest mysteries. But that's it. That's the honorable mention. Freezy Peak from Banjo-Kazooie. I love that level, and it's very wintry themed.
Yeah, we could definitely do a mysteries episode. That'd be fantastic to do. It'd be really fun.
Yeah.
We're gonna solve some mysteries, gang.
Yeah, I think there's probably some good gaming mysteries, especially from the 90s, that could be really fun to talk about.
I think it's important to mention there were like other I thought about like ice worlds and snow worlds and Mario and like Mario Kart and stuff, but those are so small that I didn't feel like to give them a shout out. But you know what they are. Okay, you actually reminded me because I think there's a Mario Kart level with a giant snowman in the middle of it. Pretty sure. Someone.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
It's got to be. All right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the episode today. We got some emails to read. You want to read some emails real quick?
Yeah, sure. First one that we have here is from David. He says, hey guys, 2-part email incoming. Oh boy.
Whoa.
I think we've only got one here. First, playing adventure games like Myst has never been my cup of tea, so I appreciate bulking up on knowledge of the genre with your recent episode. Myst in particular is a game that non-gamer friends would mention when they mentioned that they played growing up, and all I could do was shrug my shoulders and say, that's great, while hiding my ignorance. I recently watched a stream of Call of the Sea that Mike mentioned in the episode, and I feel like I got my enjoyment out of watching an engaging streamer play the game. So maybe Rand and Robin Miller were onto something when they had gamers playtest Myst next to each other to have that shared experience similar to streamers and viewers today.
It's a really good point.
Yeah. He goes on to say, do either of you have a game or genre that you wouldn't be interested in except for having some sort of shared experience, whether sitting beside someone or over a stream? Seems like games like Myst and Call of the Sea, this sort of adventure puzzler exploration genre, is mine. Oh, that's a good question.
I think I know the answer to this based on my YouTube history in the past.
Yeah.
I don't want to play horror games because I get scared.
Yeah.
But I like watching streamers play them and watch them get scared. And then if
Yeah.
there's a scary moment, I can look away like an adult, like a 32-year-old man does.
Yeah, that's
what I
a good
wanna
one.
do.
I think I'm kind of the same way. Those are games that I kind of like watching someone else play.
What was the PlayStation game that we played all together that was so scary?
Until Dawn.
Ah, so scary.
That game was very scary. It was fun though.
Very spooky.
Yeah. Oh, here's the second part of David Carter's email. It's in the same email. Second, I appreciated the Red Mage shout out in the recent Mist episode, as I have a personal affinity for spell sword / magic knight / sword and caster builds and tropes in video games and other fiction. See my Discord avatar. Red Mages in the Final Fantasy series began to stand out as more of a jack of all trades, master of none when they gained the double cast or dual cast ability starting with Final Fantasy V. Although still usually without access to high-end spells, firing off low to mid-tier spells at high speed while brandishing a sword has always seemed appealing. Glad to see Tyler giving the class its due. That's exactly why I love it, and that's exactly what Red Mages do in Final Fantasy XIV. Their whole kit is based around the first time you use an ability, because all of the abilities have like really long cast times. You use one ability, and then every time you use an ability, your next one has no cast time. So it's like charging up and then firing off a couple of spells, and so it makes it really fun. When you can get those like really long cast time abilities off immediately, like resurrections and stuff in the middle of fights. So I love that. Anyway, David says, hope your holiday and New Year's festivities are / were safe and fun. Dave. Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. All right, we got another one here from Will. Hi, Mike and Tyler.
Hey.
Now that I'm on Discord, my email correspondence with you fine fellows has diminished. I am sure you are crushed. We are crushed, Will. I think about it all the time. I figured I'd respond to your call to action here rather than in Discord so as to not prejudice anyone's opinion. Personally, I found a one-off about Myst to be interesting enough to keep me engaged, but not enough for a 3-part series. I also didn't think I'd care about Masters of Doom, but that ended up being riveting. So I guess it's a coin toss for me. Either way, I'll still tune in, so this is pretty low stakes. Keep up the great work. You guys make Monday mornings tolerable. Will,
thanks,
thank you, Will. Yeah, I think I'm going to take a little break on the Myst for a bit. We might come back to it, I don't know if it's going to be as long a break as like the first Zelda episodes and the last Zelda episodes, but we can take a little breather on it. Kind of let's, can I say what you've been playing to myself? Am I allowed to do that, Tyler?
Yeah, you can. Say it to
As
yourself.
the rules of the podcast go? Okay, what you been playing? Great thing you asked, Tyler. I have been playing on Steam Holiday Sale. They had the BioShock collection for $12.
Ooh, good
So
call.
I am almost done with BioShock Remastered already. I really put some time in over like Christmas Day and the day after. And I've been loving it so much. It's like all these memories coming back, like my second time playing it. I hadn't played it since it came out, so I beat it then, but I don't remember it very well. And this is just so great. I'm probably going to do my next series on either that or System Shock, which came first and was like the grandfather games.
It was, yeah. That was the OG of that style. I've never played any of the System Shock games.
I haven't either, and I should have. I wanted to pick those up, but BioShock is definitely more my speed. Like I had this like nostalgia factor to it that I just couldn't say no to, and I never played BioShock Infinite Burial at Sea chapters 1 and 2, and then the Chaos in the Clouds DLC. So I've put those on my trail. I'm doing all of it. I'm going for all of it. The only thing I'm going to skip are the challenge maps in BioShock Remastered.
Yeah, I think
also,
that's fine.
Crazy thing about BioShock Remastered, if you haven't played it, they built a museum in-game. Like from the main menu, you click museum, and it's like a place you can walk around.
Oh, cool.
That's full of concept art and stuff. And they have director's commentary you can find in most of the levels. And those add up to like an hour and a half of content.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? They have
That's
so
cool.
much in the game. Yeah, I've been collecting those director's commentaries, and I'm going to watch them after I play through the first one.
I love director commentaries on games. I played through the Half-Life series like a couple of times because you could play through them with the commentary. And I learned a lot about game design doing the Half-Life commentary.
I also think they're actually not, they're called director's commentary, but they're straight up like videos that play that you watch.
Oh, wow.
So it's almost like a documentary inside the game. And in the museum, it's really funny because they talk about how like, yeah, this is a concept art we had for the original Splicer, and it looked terrible, so we threw it away, but here it is. But yeah, that's what I've been playing. What have you been playing?
I've been spending most of my time on Splinter Cell Blacklist. I'm on the last level now, and then I will be done with all of the Splinter Cell games. I can move it to my done column. I'm going to feel pretty good about that. And then I begin working on playing through the Call of Duty series. Well, I've already started that, but then I can focus on playing the Call of Duty games. So I'm on the second one right now. So that's what I've been doing this past week, and also playing a lot of World of Warcraft. We did our first raid last Sunday, right after we got done recording.
Yeah.
Remember?
That was fun.
So I'm excited to do that again. We're powered up a little bit more now than we were last week, so it should be a little bit easier, a little bit more satisfying, hopefully, that our power levels have raised, and so we'll get to see the fruits of our labor. But that's pretty much it.
Drops the first time, so I'm hoping I get some drops.
Yeah. It's definitely kind of the old slot machine pull. I don't think I got any drops either, but it's still fun to do, and I'm excited to do it again. And I've been leveling up a second character too, so something that can do tanking and healing, also a paladin. So that way, if I'm ever playing by myself, I don't have to wait in those really long DPS queues. When you're a damage dealer in World of Warcraft, it take a long time to find a dungeon if you don't have a tank or a healer with you. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to play tonight too. We'll give you another report on it next week. But we hope for now you have a happy holiday season.
Mm-hmm.
It's a season still. It's after Christmas when we're recording this, but there's still New Year's left, so you're still in the thick of it right now.
Yeah.
You can tweet at us at @mecoletta on Twitter, or Tyler is at SneakerElf, ELPH. You can go to our Discord. You can email us at codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com. We hope you have a happy holiday, and Tyler is going to wish you goodbye right now.
Yeah, goodbye, everybody.